Hey guys, Ash here again at Flight Sim Reviews, and today we're going to be looking at the cockpit of the IFLY 737NG for FSX. So let's get started. This is the 800 version, and I did add the BBJ Business Jet glare shield master control panel. I do like the blue better than the orange, so anyways, personal choice. The orange one is there. To go ahead and look around the cockpit, I have to give IFLY a lot of credit. Their circuit breaker board, I think, is the best I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of payware aircraft. It literally, every circuit breaker is modeled three-dimensionally and really doesn't have any jaggies or any kind of modeling problem, and they're all legible and readable. I know it's not something you will probably spend a whole lot of time looking at flying this aircraft, but wow, I was impressed. So I mean, you can read all these: display, first officer outboard, inboard, in-op, even it's got a little red tag on it to show it's inoperable. Pretty neat stuff. There's a fire extinguisher, there's a mirror. They kind of put on a picture of the real cockpit of the NG. It's done really well that way. The windows do open. That was a really nice touch. Unfortunately, you can't see it from the outside. That was kind of a letdown, but it's cool that they do open. It does kind of add to the sense of immersion here. You know, if it was really hot out, you know, you'd pull one of these open before the packs were on. Anyways, yokes are modeled very smoothly. The only weak points are really the lighting in here and some of the things like the foot air, windshield air stuff here, the adjusters. As far as the MFDs, they look really good. Your primary flight display, you got your bugs, V-speed, altimeter tape, all that, compass rose, ground speed, pressure, all that's correct, and we'll definitely get into that more when I get deeper into this aircraft in the reviews. Again, compass rose, your tracking, what station you're tracking, etc. The panel selectors, if you had a failure on one of the glass displays or LCDs, they all work appropriately. So anyways, moving up, fire warning, master and caution, all that works. Just to show you. There you go, there's the test of the fire warning. All that works, sounds pretty good. Glare shield, it's all here. All this works. The only thing that doesn't is the terrain and obviously the weather. There's no way to accurately model weather in FSX. People think it's all about the clouds. It's not. It's about the precipitation of the clouds. And there's no way to get FSX to show precipitation. You can get FSX to show where the clouds are. You can't make it show where it's raining, and that is the problem. So anyways, there won't be a weather radar anytime soon in FSX, if ever. Your engine display, and you can select what it's displaying. You can get a systems page, or you can shift it all down there. Obviously, you've got your speed, V-speed sets, your fuel flow, bug reset, auto brake, flaps, just your standard fare for your 737NG. I know a lot of guys have flown this aircraft in prior flight sims and flown it to death. I'm one of them. It was so great to have this show up in FSX finally. Flaps, brake pressure, gear, all that good stuff. Anyways, everything's really good to read, really easy to read. It's all animated really smooth. Your radio stack, everything's working. I'm pretty impressed with the functionality of everything on the radio stack. A lot more than some companies actually give you. Real clear, real easy to read. The seats move as they would in a 3.7. They can't go back because the wall's there, so they do go to the side, and the armrests move. Going to the overhead panel, it looks pretty good. It's easy to read. It's pretty easy on the eyes. It's not as sharp as I feel it could be. The writing seems to be a little dull, but other than that, it's not smeary or illegible. Everything's perfectly legible. The biggest gripe I have with this overhead panel is, as you can see, you can't get to the aft portion of it. And as I mentioned before, the click spots on this plane are horrendous. And so instead of being able to see your whole overhead panel and not having to get over in the first officer's seat, guess what? You get to get over in the first officer's seat, and there's just nothing you can do about it unless you have a track IR or a similar device to get at this aft panel, because obviously you got to get your trim air, your cabin controls, your window heat, you know, anything you want on this aft panel that's on this side, especially the air system controls. You almost always have to get in that first officer's seat, and that is kind of a bummer. Everything is functional in it. Everything seems to be functional as far as I can tell. They've done a really nice job. Like if you were to open this cross feed valve, you can see that the valve light shows it's opening and then that it's open. It does give you the indication that it's in transit. It's not just a simple changing of the color. Everything seems to be functioning as it should be from my prior 37NG experience. The autopilot, all that works great. The throttle quadrant's really smooth. The only thing, and maybe it's just me, I cannot get the speed brake for the life of me to move back to the flight detent. I have it mapped to my stick, but other than that, that's just how it is, unfortunately. So the trim seems to move pretty fast. It's not horrendous, but it does seem to adjust pretty quick. And also it's a nice touch that you can hear the trim wheel running like the real NG. It's kind of cool while you're flying it and the autopilot's on. You can hear the autopilot trimming the plane. One of the qualms with this airplane that I've heard from people is that they've gotten upset that the autopilot doesn't turn off or it turns off all the time. It either doesn't turn on or it doesn't turn off, or it, you know, etc. With the NG, the aircraft has to be really trimmed up before they turn the autopilot on. And the slightest touch on your joystick is going to turn it off, and it puts it into, you know, sort of an Airbus mode where it trims to where you're flying it. So if you pull the nose up to 10 degrees and let off the stick, it's going to trim 10 degrees nose up and hold that trim, as long as you have one of the command modes selected on the MCP. So that's really nice that all that's modeled. But that being said, a lot of people I know are having to make their null zone larger on their stick. So I haven't had any problems on my Satec yoke or my X52 Pro, but I know a lot of people that have. So it is true, if your centering spring's a little worn and you got a little bit of a floppy flight stick, it's going to turn your autopilot off. So that is kind of an obnoxious thing, but it is accurate to the aircraft. It would just be one of those things that maybe on their end they could make it not quite so sensitive and still model it. I hope that gave you a pretty good look at the cabin and the animations. I was pretty impressed with it. Also, a good note, as we go through this, I just want to mention IFLY has great forums. They are fantastic. If you're on the fence about this airplane, I'm going to be honest, their support and the people on the forums are worth it. The airplane is really good, and you'll see that as we go through it here in these reviews, but this community is even better. They're the friendliest community of flight sim enthusiasts I've ever met. They have all kinds of mods for this airplane already, from changing the cabin lighting color to making the cockpit, the yokes look more realistic. People have reskinned the entire airplane already. It's just amazing. I mean, I want people to understand, I'm sure IFLY will not warrant the aircraft if, you know, something you've added on has made it buggy. But on the other hand, if there's something that's kind of bugging you about it, it's usually bugging someone else, and they've already fixed it, and IFLY has been really receptive to allowing people to tinker a little bit and improve the aircraft. So again, this is just what you would get out of the box. There are a lot of mods available for the aircraft, visually and functionally. So anyways, that being said, I hope that gave you a good look at the internals of this aircraft, And the cockpit, there is no cabin on this, so that's as much as I can show you for the internals. I hope you stay tuned for more flights and reviews, and I hope to see you then. Thanks again.